Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. So today I'm going to be committing finally to my top 5 foundations. It has taken me some time, let me tell you, to come to terms with the top 5. Now I know I did a roundup of all the new releases in the end of 2019 because that was a struggle, let me tell you. But I know lots of you are wanting to know where my previous Holy Grails sat within that, whether they were still there, how they compared. I'm so out of breath. I just had to run upstairs to get one of them and I need a minute. So today I finally feel ready that I have tried them all enough, that I have gone back and forth between old and new, existing and new entries to definitively tell you what my top 5 are and why the 3 that would previously have been in my top 5 have been pushed out. So that's what we're going to talk about now. I guess I can put them in a slight order. There are 2 that kind of sit outside of the top 3 and then there are 3. So I have kind of 2 categories. There's a top 3 and then the other 2. I mean, stop talking and just tell you. So number 4 and 5, and I'm not really sure which number would be which because I love them both, but they're very different. And this is the Pat McGrath and the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation. So these are obviously polar opposites. The Pat McGrath sheer, skin-like, Victoria's Secret model, just slightly skin perfecting. And then the Charlotte Tilbury, which is a full coverage beat face. So complete polar opposites as far as the finish and the coverage and all of the above. But I love them both so much for their specific thing that they do. The Pat McGrath for being like the most natural skin-like, like me, but as if I've been kissed by some angels or something. This cannot be beaten. If you just want to look natural but absolutely stunningly natural, this is your best bet. It looks, I mean, you can build it up and probably get close to like a medium coverage. It never looks heavy, it never looks cakey, it always looks natural, it always looks beautiful. The finish is just like the most beautiful skin. That's the finish of it and I absolutely treasure it. It's so beautiful, and when I want to have like a light, fresh, natural me but on my best ever day of life 10 years ago, this is the one I will reach for. The Charlotte Tilbury has become my go-to for like a heavy day. Like if I am gonna have a day, capital D day, this is what goes on my face. It's never gonna let me down. If it's raining, if I've got to take my kids to the safari park and we're gonna be playing and running around and they're gonna be rubbing themselves on my face, and then I'm gonna go to the gym and then I'm meeting someone for coffee, this is what I would go for because this is the only one that has any chance of making it through that, frankly. It is slightly matter than I like when it first goes on, but once it's settled into the skin after an hour or so, it takes on this beautiful luminous matte kind of finish, I guess. It's not like any other matte that I have. You guys know I don't like matte foundations. This one I do like. You need one pump and that is gonna cover your entire life, everybody you know, and that is gonna just do the trick, which I love because I find it obviously really cost efficient then. The shades are a little tricky, but other than that, absolutely love it. Does its thing very, very well. And then the top 3, my Fenty Hydrating, the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self Refreshing and the Anastasia Luminous Foundation. These 3 are my dreams come true. They are all very similar, hence why I can't really put them in a 1, 2, 3 order. I think I probably have the best shades for me in the Shiseido, hence why I'm kind of tempted to put that first because that's really the only thing that separates it from the other 2. That I struggle with Fenty shades. The Anastasia shades I've got pretty lucky and found pretty good matches, but I feel like the Shiseido shades are like they bottled my skin. So for that reason, it kind of just edges ahead. But these three all do that thing that I personally want and love for my foundations. So they do that medium to full, covers all my redness, stays very natural looking, wears all day, luminous, glowy, healthy skin, smoothing, doesn't soak into lines and wrinkles, doesn't exaggerate texture or any kind of imperfections, doesn't transfer on my kids when I hug or kiss them, doesn't cause me any issues, doesn't flash back in photography, so I can wear it day or night. If I set it with my By Terry powder, it doesn't lose all of its luminosity and good stuff. Doesn't do anything bad to me. I love them, and they are the exact finish that I love and adore from my foundations. The Anastasia is a hair, I think, I don't know, maybe a hair dewier than these two, but they are all very similar as far as finish. They all give that perfect finish that I lean towards and that I prefer, that glowy, luminous, healthy, natural skin, the perfect amount of coverage in every way. So these are my absolute favorite go-to foundations. If, like I said, if I had to pick a winner, it would probably be the Shiseido, merely because of the shade is perfect on me. And now to tell you about the three that have dropped out and why. So the number one that is going to shock people, I know, is the Radial Diamond Foundation. And the reason it's going to shock people is because obviously I used this almost 2/3 of 2019. This was all I used. This is all I wanted on my face. It was perfection. It was the nicest foundation. I know lots of you purchased this on my recommendation, and I have been obsessed with it. And don't get me wrong, I still love this. Absolutely. It's probably number 6 probably on the list. So yeah, it's just edged out. And honestly, because so many foundations came out this year that did the same thing that this does, but like that hair bit better, mainly relating to the shade. As we know, the shades in the Radial foundation are a nightmare because there's only 9 of them. So they're very hard. I have to mix in summer, I have to mix in winter, I have to mix in between the two, just constantly mixing. And even then, it's just never quite perfect. So that's why it's kind of dropped out, because in these other foundations, I don't have to mix. I can find a shade that is good enough. Whereas with this, I have to mix to get a shade that's good enough. So for that reason, it's kind of dropped out slightly. I think my top 3 that kind of do the same thing that this one does, these 3 are probably all slightly more luminous than this one initially, but they stay stable throughout the day. Whereas I think the Radial starts off slightly less luminous than these and becomes more luminous throughout the day. So hence why these 3 kind of edge it over this one as far as that finish. But the shade is really a struggle constantly with the Radial, because I'm just constantly having to mix it. I still love it, I still use it, but yeah, I think those top 3 are just a little bit more glowy and luminous, but maintain it throughout the whole day. So that's why that one's been edged out. Similar thing with the Laura Mercier Flawless Lumiere Radiance Perfecting Foundation. I still love this one. I use it a lot. However, I find, again, these 3 do the same thing as this one. They have a similar finish, similar coverage, etc, etc. I have great shades in the Laura Mercier shade range, but with this one, it starts off the same way as these. Throughout the day, it just approaches the almost too dewy line for me. These, I feel like they stay consistently as I put them on. This one does get glowier and glowier throughout the day, which isn't a disaster. It's also not quite as perfect as far as lines and wrinkles and texture as these 3. These 3 make them reduce. They they improve my texture on my lines. They smooth it. This doesn't enhance it. Doesn't enhance texture and lines and wrinkles, but it doesn't make them look smoother, if you hear me. So again, that's why these 3 have beaten this one out. But again, that's probably number 7 on my top 5. There isn't a 7 in a top 5, Charlotte. What are you on about? And last but not least, and this one hurts me the most weirdly, but this is the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Wear. Don't get me wrong, I still love it. It's still got a special place, in my heart and soul. But This one has pretty much been beaten out by the Charlotte Tilbury. They are very similar, as in they are matte foundations, but they manage to look like a radiant matte, if that makes sense, like a natural matte. I love both of these. Again, this one has been beaten out by the Charlotte Tilbury for doing that thing that foundation does. Very long wearing, natural matte or a luminous matte or a radiant matte, however you want to put it. You know, don't need a huge amount to cover. Have a decent shade in both of these for summer and winter. Yeah, I feel like they do lots of things that are similar. I think this one is more smoothing and better long wearing than this one. And this was the foundation that I would previously like reach for if I wanted a really long wearing, not going to let me down, not going to transfer, not going to get too shiny for a very long, rough day. This one, I feel like it does that a little better than this one, hence the reason it's been pushed out. But this would be my top 8. So those 3 that have been pushed out of the 5, they're still up there. They are still well within my top 10, put it that way. This would be my top 8. But those 3 oldies, but still real goodies, have definitely been slightly budged out of the absolute top notch. They're no longer sitting in my everyday favourites drawer because these guys are now in that drawer. So I hope you found that helpful. I have, of course, reviewed every single one of these foundations, done a full review of them. So if you want even more detail, if you want to see them applied, if you want to see the wear test, the flash test, etc, 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 then I will link every review of these foundations down in the description box so you can check them out. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this helpful and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.